Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Today we're back with every inaccuracy in The Lord of the Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 4, titled Eldest. I already went through most of my criteria and the rules in the last video, so if you're wondering what this series is about, please go watch the last video before you continue with this one. But just a quick breakdown of what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to be pointing out every book inaccuracy, and I guess some accuracies, that the show made to the books. More so inspired by the books than based on the books, because not every event in the show follows that to the books. I'm not saying everything should follow to a T. So these are the rules I'm going by as said in my last video. I will be pointing out every inaccuracy I can find in the show compared to the Silmarillion. The reason I'm only talking about the Silmarillion and only gonna be referencing the Silmarillion for this video is because the Silmarillion is the only Lord of the Rings book I've read, or at the very least it's the only Lord of the Rings book connected to this show that I've read. One more thing I would also like to mention is that, as said in my last video, most of these clips, images, stills, whatever you want to call it, are borrowed from the Nerd of the Rings channel. Please go subscribe to Nerd of the Rings. He's a great Lord of the Rings channel, knows way more about the lore than I do and I could ever dream to know. I'm just here to give you inaccuracy, something he doesn't really do much in his breakdowns. He does talk about like little book references here and there. I'm specifically talking about the inaccuracies of the narrative between the book and the show. Go to Nerd of the Rings, he has way more info on the subject, and as said, I'm kind of stealing his footage, but that's how the cookie crumbles. But as I said, I will leave a link to his channel down in the description below. Great guy. I will also not be giving any book spoilers. We'll obviously be talking about episode spoilers and how they connect to each other, but I will not be giving any spoilers about any book events that happen in the future of this show. And lastly, this video is not meant to bash on the show. You guys know me, you know what community I'm trying to build here. We do not judge things until they are over, up until the last minute. And as such, I will be reserving all of my major emotions on this show, be it positive or negative, until the season is done. I will be giving my general thoughts at the end of the video, but as of now, I will not be saying whether or not this show is dead or alive to me, and neither should you guys do too. We are here for civil discussions. Please let us not spit venom at each other. And one little last point I just want to mention out is that even though I'm pointing out inaccuracies, just because it's inaccurate doesn't mean it's bad. Please keep this in mind, guys. Just because an adaptation decides to do something different than the book does not mean that that change is always a bad thing. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Archer, two swordsmen. I trust you can recommend a set.
Trust? Me? You said that's wise, Commander.
At the High King's urging, I agreed to appoint you as first lieutenant. But if you deem that duty beneath you, I would choose not.
Yes.
Guess what?
Yes, I can recommend an archer and two swordsmen. Who else should we take with us, Commander?
This episode is chock full of Elrond and Galadriel's drama and sass. Despite, as I mentioned in the last episode, there not being much of them interacting in the book. There's actually not a lot of text on Galadriel in the Second Age in the Silmarillion. Okay, I didn't mention this in the last vid, mostly because book fans pointed this out in season 1, which I refused to go back to, but because it's been talked about so much in this episode, I figured I'd mention it now. Galadriel was never a commander, lieutenant, or any sort of military person before the Third Age. She mostly sat back from all the action and rarely got involved, meaning none of this happened in the book. It really was a strange choice to make Galadriel the main character of this show, considering her book counterpart went the extra mile to not be involved in the plot as much as possible. Elrond and Gil-galad would have been much better picks for protagonists as they were more involved in the war against Sauron.
Lightning.
No earthly force could do this. This is the work of Sauron.
While there is no record of Sauron summoning lightning in the book, we do have an instance of him tanking and deflecting it. This comes from the chapter Akallabeth, or as it's known in English, The Fall of Númenor. These words the king himself spoke, but they were devised by Sauron. Now, the lightnings increased and slew men upon the hills, and in the fields, and in the streets of the city, and a fiery bolt smote the dome of the temple, and shore it asunder, and it was wreathed in flame. But the temple itself was unshaken, and Sauron stood there upon the pinnacle and defied the lightning, and was unharmed. And in that hour, men called him a god, and did all that he would. Pretty hardcore stuff.
This company will not take counsel from that trinket. Nor will you.
I do find it interesting how much focus the show is giving to Elrond's hatred of the rings. Mild book spoiler here, but I wonder if they're putting him on an arc of trusting them and their powers so that we can get an earned explanation of why he wears one later on. Also, just wanted to say this, guys, in case I forgot it in the intro, which I most likely did, but please ignore any background noise you might hear. I'm recording in a different room today, so if there's an echo, I'm so sorry, please forgive me for that. I will do better next time. The episode also focuses quite a bit on hobbits, and while the Silmarillion barely mentions them, I thought I'd direct you to Nerve the Rings video on them so you can find the inaccuracies yourself. Same with Tom Bombadil.
Prepare yourselves. What are they? Barrow whites.
The Barrow-wights are not mentioned in the Silmarillion, mostly because they didn't exist by the time of the Silmarillion. They were created way later in the Third Age by the Witch King. They look cool, but are anachronistic at best.
According to law, only the blades with which they were buried will return such creatures to rest.
But the men buried here have been entombed for over 1,000 years. I think it's safe to say that something has awoken them.
Small nitpick, but if Elrond and Galadriel knew of the existence of the Barrow-wights, why the frick did Elrond not believe her and continue on his path anyway? And don't give me any of that, oh, he didn't trust the ring BS. Him not trusting the ring is how they got in danger to begin with.
What was that?
There are nameless things in the deep places of this world. This one we shall call supper.
The nameless things are real creatures in the book that come in all shapes and sizes, and even the Silmarillion makes mention of them. However, from what I know of the other books, they would not be this close to the surface. I mean, there's a reason why Arondir calls them the nameless things of the deep places on Earth.
Promise me, Elrond. You will put opposing Sauron above all other considerations. Even my life.
I mentioned in my last video that I'm not a fan of the characters in the Lord of the Rings universe having visions. And boy does that go to show how much I don't know the lore. I forgot that Galadriel has foresight abilities, and the rings enhance the abilities of their wearers, which I guess would make sense as to why she has visions in the show. Same thing goes for Elrond, he also has foresight abilities and he uses his ring tools to kind of see glimpses of the future. So that's a big L on my part.
My father foresaw that one day Celebrimbor's life would be in my hands. I will choose the path I must to give me the best hope of protecting it.
There is no record of Eärendil telling Elrond to save Celebrimbor's life at any point in the Silmarillion.
Greenwood!
Hast thou ever touched axe to wooded life?
To my great pain I have, but...
Thou in uprooting ground breakers and transmitted all!
The Ents were created to protect the trees, and the Elves were created to respect them. This whole interaction falls in line with canon from the book. So these readings come from the chapter of Aule and Yavanna. And I'm going to be jumping around a bit here, mostly because there's quite a bit of meandering, but I just want to give you the gist of like the backstory between dwarves, elves, and the trees, or like the Ents in general. So Aule is Avala, who is the Middle-earth version of a god, who's the creator of the dwarves. What is that sound? Ignore any background sound here, guys. Anyway, Aule is the creator of the dwarves, and Yavanna is the creator of the Ents, and the creator of vegetation in general in the Middle-earth. And here's an interesting interaction I thought I'd read, just kind of, giving you a cool comparison to what we see in the show. So this is when Yavanna comes to Aule to confront him about creating the dwarves in secret. Let's see here. Yeah. Then Yavanna told him, we skip a bit of what she said, yet because thou bidst this sort from me until its achievement, thy children will have little love for the things of my love. They will love first the things made by their own hands, as doth their father. They will delve in the earth, and the things that grow and live upon the earth until they will not heed. Many a tree shall feel the bite of their iron without pity. But Aule answered, that shall also be true of the children of Iluvatar, for they will eat and they will build. And though the things of thy realm have worth in themselves, and would have worth if no children were to come, yet Eru will give them dominion, and they will use all that they find in ardor, though not by the purpose of Eru, without respect or without gratitude. So of course Yavanna is kind of ticked off by this. She's like, by the way, I forgot to mention Aule and Yavanna are married. So she's kind of ticked off. Her husband just made a whole new race of people who will destroy trees for their own good. And she's like, what the heck? Why are you destroying my trees? So she goes to Manwë, the king of the Vala, and she makes a plea with him, which I'm not going to read. It's not that important. But Manwë does basically allow Yavanna to come up with a way to protect her children. So this is where Yavanna gets the idea to make the Ents. Nay, so this is Manwë. Nay, he said, only the trees of Aule will be tall enough. In the mountains the eagles shall house, and hear the voices of those who call upon us. but in the forest shall walk the shepherds of the trees. The ends. So this is after he and Yavanna have come to an agreement. Then Manwe and Yavanna parted for that time, and Yavanna returned to Aule, and he was in his smithy, pouring metal into a mold. Edu is bountiful, she said. Now let thy children beware, for there shall walk a power in the forests, whose wrath they will arouse at their peril. Nonetheless, they will have need of wood, said Aule, and he went on with his smith work. So basically, the Ents are there to protect the forests and to ensure that men, dwarves, and elves don't take more than they need. And it's honestly understandable or reasonable to see why the Ent wife in this episode is so bloody mad, why she's so ticked off. Because, well, she is a daughter of Yavanna, and Yavanna is very protective of her trees. She doesn't even like the fact that other races need to use the trees. She just came to a compromise with them. So I think this is a pretty cool callback.
Orc treachery.
That trail. I gather it leads to.
Peragio, Malish. We came in search of Sauron. Instead, we find Adar.
Could they be in league with each other? Perhaps at war.
A legion of orcs have marched into Elvish lands. We are all of us at war.
Adar never led the orcs into a region, mostly because he doesn't exist in the books. That was all Sauron. In the books, after helping Celebrimbor forge the rings, Sauron went to Mordor, made the One Ring, and took an army of orcs back to a region to collect the other 19. It's weird how the show is pushing these two plot lines to be happening at the same time instead of one after the other, but we'll see how they handle it.
Venna.
Here's an interesting impasse between the movies and the book. In the movies, Galadriel is known to heal people, just like she did with Gandalf in the Battle of Five Armies. So it makes sense of the ring on, her healing abilities would increase. However, elves being able to heal wounds without magic or special plants is not a thing in the books. It's not an ability inherent to them. A scene like this would make you wonder why Elrond couldn't have easily healed Frodo in the Fellowship of the Ring. This is a tricky case of the show wanting to have its cake and eat it too, as it's following the law and continuity of both the book and the films, one media of which this trick is only possible in. The show is picking and choosing what law it wants to follow, and I for one think that's kind of cheating. And now we come to my general thoughts of the show. Overall, I think this is the weakest of the four. Come on, show, we're supposed to be going higher in quality, not lower, especially considering we're already halfway through the season. This episode officially made me hate/not give a damn about the Half-Foot Hobbit storyline. Like, they are so boring. They legit eat up so much unnecessary screen time, it's not even funny. I thought we would have left the Hobbit storyline behind in season 1 and the writers would know to focus just on the wizard stuff, but they somehow found a way to cram it into this show again, halfway through. Why? Why would you do that? No one asked you to do this. I was fine with just following Poppy and the Stranger. No, sorry, not Poppy, Nori and the Stranger, but then you brought Poppy in, and then we're going back to the Harfoot nonsense? Really? Really? This kind episode really reminded me of just how slow season 1 is. Don't even get me started on the Stranger stuff. While I love Tom Bombadil here, they really are dragging their feet into revealing who the Stranger is, what his greater destiny is. Like, at this point in time, I'm just like, give him his memories already. I'm fed up of it. What, we're now gonna end the season with him having another show off with this dark wizard? You're gonna end it the same way we did last season. So yeah, in case it wasn't obvious, I think it's safe to say there are some subplots in this show I prefer over others. I think I like the Elves Sauron subplot the most, or the main plot the most of this show, followed by the Dwarves. Numenor is sitting in this weird neutral nebula space of I both like it and don't like it. And then we have the whole Arondia Theo storyline I don't give a damn about. The wizard storyline is somewhat interesting when it focuses on the wizard, but everything to do with the Half-Foots, I could care less. Please write it out of the show, and please, for the love of everything good, do not include this in season 3. Although, at risk of being called a meat writer, I would like to give this show some praise for the Tom Bombadil song at the end. I know we're in this age of hating songs in credits, but this song is like weirdly beautiful. Yes, I know J.R.R. Tolkien originally wrote it in the Fellowship of the Ring, so really it's like of all songs to be good, this one would be good. But just like the orchestra, the voice of the singer, I'm forgetting his name, I think it's, Bear McCreary, if I'm not wrong, and just oh my gosh, the gravitas it has. It really does make you imagine Middle-earth to be this beautiful place. I love it, go listen to it, and it's worth sitting through the credits for. Anyways, I still think this is an interesting lead off into the back half of the season. Hopefully episode 5 is a bigger, more special mid-season event. And as I said, I'm still holding out hope that the rest of the season is good. This is giving me a lot of season 1 vibes though, where it starts off strong and then kind of becomes weak. So I'm hoping, again, the back half of the season can pick up and season 2 is in a way better spot than season 1. As I said, the pacing is still good, it's still mostly fine. I just really don't like the Harfoot storyline. It really drags this show down by like a lot. And this is the episode that confirmed it for me. Anyways, guys, tell me what you thought of episode 4. What do you think of the inaccuracies I found here? Are there some things I missed? Are there some things I should have mentioned? Or are there some things I got wrong on my part? Because, hey, even though I have the book, there's probably like a section I skipped that was really important. And tell me your thoughts on the show. Is it improving? Is it getting worse? And to those book loyalist fans out there who really hate how this show is like ruining Tolkien's name, as a show on its own, what do you think about it? Because I kind of want to hear from both sides. Anyways, guys, that's going to be all from today. Next video is, of course, going to be episode 5 when it comes out. I'll just be working on a side video on the side. Of course, working on more videos in the future, such as the Ninjago stuff. Can't wait to release that when part 2 of season 2 officially releases. But for now, that's going to be all for today. Be sure to like if you like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification button to be part of the team. Of course, huge shout out to Lord of the Rings. Most of these videos would not exist without his existing first, so please go check him out. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. I've been Captain Phoenix, and with that, I will see you in another universe. Goodbye, my Rangers.